Hello and welcome everyone to my channel, the MBBS Hub. Today we are going to study about the histology of thyroid gland. So let's start our today's topic. First of all, we'll look about the general features of the thyroid gland. So the general features are that thyroid is a bilobed gland. Both the lobes of the thyroid are situated on either side of the trachea below the larynx in the lower neck. Now, these two lobes of the thyroid gland are connected by isthmus in front of the trachea. Next, we will see some of the peculiarities of the thyroid gland. So, number one, it can be palpated. We can palpate the thyroid gland. After that, the thyroid gland is dependent on an external source, and this external source is the iodine for the secretion. The thyroid gland stores large quantities of its hormonal secretion extracellularly as colloid, in contrast to other endocrine glands which store very small quantity intracellularly. Now, thyroid has a dual source for its developments. Thyroid has a dual source of its development. So, this is the thyroid gland that is present in the lower neck. This is the thyroid gland that is present in the lower neck below the larynx. Thyroid gland. So now we'll look about the microscopic features of the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is made up of stroma and parenchyma. These are the structures which make up the thyroid gland. Now, stroma. What is the stroma? Stroma consists of a dense, irregular connective tissue capsule. Is derived from the deep cervical fossa. The parathyroid glands are embedded within the capsule on the posterior aspect of the thyroid gland. Now, on the posterior aspect of the thyroid gland, there are some parathyroid glands which are embedded within this capsule. Now, parenchyma. This parenchyma is made up of follicular and parafollicular cells. So now we'll look these parafollicular and follicular cells individually. So first of all, the follicular cells. On microscopic examination of each lobule, we can see that they are made up of aggregation of follicles. So each lobule is made up of aggregation of follicles. Now each follicle is lined by the follicular cells that rest on a basement membrane. These follicular cells are lining the follicles, and these follicular cells rest on a basement membrane. The follicular cells vary in shape. So what can be their shape? They can be squamous, cuboidal and columnar. And what depends their shape? Their shape depends on the level of the activity. So according to their activity, their shell shapes can vary. The follicle is filled with a homogeneous material. The thyroid follicle is filled with a homogeneous material which is known as the colloid, which appears pink in hematoxylin and eosin stained sections. So this thyroid follicle is filled with a homogeneous material that is called the colloid, and this appears pink in the hematoxylin and eosin stained sections. Now, what is the function? The function that these parafollicular cells activity is influenced by the thyroid stimulating hormone or the TSH hormone. Now, these parafollicular cells, when their activity is influenced by the TSH hormone, they secrete the triiodothyronine or the T3 hormone and the tetraiodothyronine and or the T4 hormone. So which hormones are being secreted from the follicular cells? So number one is the T3 hormone or triiodothyronine and the T4 hormone or the tetraiodothyronine. Now, what are the function of these hormones? These hormones influence the rate of metabolism in our body. So we will see this is the three stages of follicular cells. So this is the stage where the cells are columnar, and this is a highly active stage. Now when the cells are cuboidal, this is moderately active, and when the cells, that is the follicular cells, become squamous, that indicates that this gland is inactive. So next we will see the parafollicular cells. The parafollicular cells are also called C cells. Thyroid gland contains the C cells or parafollicular cells which intervene between the follicular cells and the basement membrane. Now these C cells or parafollicular cells are intervening between the follicular cells and the basement membrane. They are also called clear cells or light cells. they are derived from the neural crest cells, which is a very important thing to remember, that these parafollicular cells or C cells are derived from the neural crest cells. Now these cells are polyhedral with oval eccentric nuclei. Now what is the function of these parafollicular cells? These parafollicular cells or the C cells secrete a hormone, that is calcitonin. Now they have an action opposite to that of parathyroid hormone on calcium metabolism. This calcitonin has an opposite action to that of the parathyroid hormone on calcium metabolism. Now this parathyroid hormone is secreted from the parathyroid gland. Now secretion of calcitonin is stimulated by the increase in blood calcium level. So which thing or what influences or what stimulates the secretion of calcitonin? The blood calcium level determines the secretion of calcitonin. Now we'll see the microscopic view of thyroid gland. So this is the thyroid gland which we are getting here. Now we are moving towards the microscopic view of the thyroid gland. So first, this is a thyroid follicle. This is a thyroid follicle in which we can see the colloid that is being filled inside the follicle. We can see here the parafollicular cells, polyhedral cells or parafollicular cells. Then we can see the cell lining the follicle or the follicular cells that lines the follicular cell that lines the follicle. After that we can see the connective tissue septa. This is the connective tissue septa, and here we can see some blood vessels. So again we are going to revise. This is a thyroid follicle, typical thyroid follicle, and inside the follicle we can see the colloid that is filled. After that, these are the parafollicular cells or the C cells. These are the cells lining the follicle or the follicular cells. After that we can see the connective tissue septa, and then we can see few blood vessels. Now we are going towards the identification points. The thyroid gland is made up of follicles that are lined by the cuboidal epithelium. The thyroid gland is made up of the follicles, and follicles are lined mainly by the cuboidal epithelium. In low magnification we can see that the follicles vary in shape and size. We can see in low magnification that there can be varying size and shape for these thyroid follicles. Now parafollicular cells, these are present in relation to the follicles and also as groups in the connective tissue septa or the connective tissue. Parafollicular cells are found in a group in the connective tissue. In the intervals between the follicles, there is some connective tissue and blood vessels between the follicles, as we have seen in the previous diagram. That is, between the follicles there is some connective tissue and some blood vessels. So with this we are completing our today's lecture. Hope you guys have found the video informative. So please like the video, subscribe the channel and share it among your friends. See you in next video. Thank you.